we have another national security related story that I found very intriguing. I got this from Human Rights Watch, actually, and I think that it may seem a bit science fiction, a bit speculative, but I think it's interesting. It's something that we should talk about. So often on the Young Turks, we criticize the Obama administration's use of drones. Unfortunately, it seems like drones aren't going anywhere soon. We're now, obviously, in the United States, we're using them more than in other countries, but they're spreading there as well, and so into other countries. So the Human Rights Watch has put out a 50-page report called Losing Humanity, the Case Against Killer Robots. I don't know if calling them killer robots is the best way to get people to really fear for them, but they do have a point to this report, and it's saying that we need to put meaningful regulations on the use of these robots, how they're programmed, and what sort of capabilities they have to stop them from being a threat in an autonomous fashion to civilians in the future. So we have a quote from Steve Goose. He's the Arms Division Director at the Human Rights Watch. And he says, "Giving machines the power to decide who lives and dies on the battlefield would take technology too far. Human control of robotic warfare is essential to minimizing civilian deaths and injuries." And now, before we continue, I do want to say, I want to talk about some of the countries that are developing these technologies, because we hear about it a lot in America, but as I alluded to, other countries are working on them too. And that list includes China, Germany, Israel, South Korea, Russia, United Kingdom. Those are some important countries when it comes to potential future wars. So does this seem silly to you, or is this something that we should be worrying about?
Oh my God, it doesn't seem silly to me at all. I mean, maybe 2 decades ago, if you talked about unmanned drones, people might think, oh, that's silly, that's nothing we need to worry about at this moment. But obviously, drone strikes have become a serious issue, especially when it comes to using drone strikes against those who have, that we have not had the privilege of due process, right? So in this case, I definitely agree that when you take the humanity out of it, when you depend on technology to carry out any type of attack, not only are there going to be mistakes in targeting the wrong people, but also you take the human element out of it. So sometimes you need to use human judgment, especially when it comes to something as serious as war. And I don't like the idea of using robots to carry out acts of violence. Now, that's not to say that there is an upside, and one of the upsides to drone strikes is that you don't put members of our military in danger when you're trying to take out a target. But at the same time, you guys already know that technology has been abused, and there are some serious civil liberties violations that a lot of people have been discussing, especially Glenn Greenwald. So I don't think it's silly at all to start talking about regulating this technology ahead of time before it's too late. The question is, are we going to do it? And considering what we're doing with drone strikes right now, we probably aren't.
Yeah, and so the biggest issue that Human Rights Watch has right now is, I'm sure that they're against the use of drone strikes in general, but they're principally worried about taking out the human operator from these drones and other military weapons. So right now, it's a person flying it. They're the ones who select who will die when the missiles will be fired. But within 20, 30 years, some people believe even sooner, artificial intelligence will allow robots to make those decisions. Now, that sounds silly, and I worry that people are going to just hear that and think that we're talking about, I don't know, the Terminator or something like that. But we're getting closer to that. And at some point, and look, I've seen not just aerial drones, but there's also advanced turrets that are deployed along the demilitarized zone in Korea, and they can eventually be programmed in a way that they can recognize humanoids and potentially fire on them without requiring 24-hour being watched by a human.
What if you program them incorrectly?
That is a problem, potentially.
That's a huge problem. That's why I'm saying human judgment is critical when it comes to something as serious as a life or death situation. So I like that it was Human Rights Watch, right?
Yes.
I love that they're actually addressing this way ahead of time. But as I mentioned, the question is, are they actually going to get through to some people? Are they going to get through to politicians, to authorities? I doubt it.
Yeah, I've talked before on the show about how I worry that the use of these robots could inspire other countries to be more against us. Like the idea that they're not even sending their men against us, they're sending these machines. It's so disconnected. That could cause problems in certain countries. And also, as they point out here, look, it's all great to say, let's not send in our pilots, let's send in a drone. That way, if it gets shot down, a human doesn't die. But if there's no human cost to war, then perhaps you'll enter into wars that you otherwise wouldn't. So I want to end on this quote. This is again from Steve Goose. He says, "Action is needed now before killer robots cross the line from science fiction to feasibility."
I think calling them killer robots kind of minimizes the
I mean, it's
seriousness.
literally true. They are
They
killer
are.
robots.
It is
but
literally true. But when you use wording like killer robots, it
Yeah.
minimizes the severity of the situation,
yeah.
right?
And it's pretty severe.
Yeah, it's
We
really
should fear
severe.
Skynet. So maybe we don't need to worry about it in the next presidential election, but keep your mind on it. In the future, there might not be a human behind the joystick.